Hi guys. I'm doing pretty good so far. I got a lot of information about this composer today. But doing good so far. Later tonight, me and my friend are going to go watch a movie. Gonna be watching Demon Slayer, and once I finish this video and submit everything I need to do, I am just going to read to catch up. I need maybe 20 chapters left to be caught up to where the movie's gonna be, so that's gonna be fun. And yeah, other than that, we're doing pretty good. So the composer I chose today was Leonard Bernstein. And so when doing some research on him, I had found out that he was the composer that did the music for West Side Story. And that one kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. It's one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite scores. I absolutely love it. But I won't be talking about that music. I chose some other music of his to talk about. But yeah, so I was really invested in this guy. So he was born August 25th, 1918, and died October 14th, 1990. He was both a conductor, a composer for musical theater, and also a musical educator. He's a bunch of things, especially a pianist. Uh, he was very versatile. He did a lot throughout his life. Um, let's see what I got here. So he was also his most notable stuff, like most lasting contributions and things like that, were that he did compose West Side Story, that he did also was a musical director for New York Philharmonic, and also a composer, no, guest conductor for a bunch of symphonies and all harmonics and all sorts of things. So, for his early life, his family had very little to do with music. The only reason why he really truly got into music is because his aunt had left a piano for at his family's home, and he began to start like learning it and messing around with it at age 10. His family were Russian Jewish immigrants, and that played a part in things that he would do later in his life. His first piano teacher was a woman named Helen Coates, and she was an assistant to a man he would later be learn teach to a man who would be teaching him later, um, Her- Henrik Henrik Gippard, and so he began to like truly study his music with her at age 14. She would later become his assistant for most of his adult life. And during school time and things like that, he would put on summer productions with his friends. He would also occasionally do some gigs for jazz bands so that he can keep paying for his lessons. And he would major in music at Harvard and would also, like I said earlier, be taught by Heinrich, I believe that's how I say it. Um, During that time, he met plenty of major musical figures at Harvard. Some of the things that he noteworthy did were writing some incidental music for two plays by this guy named Aristophanes, and he also organized some performances like the Cradle Will Rock. He befriended a man named Dmitri Metropoulos, and which would become his lifelong friend and his mentor. And with him, he would Dimitri would give him informal lessons, which became very important to his compositional work. Following Harvard, he was accepted as into the Curtis Institute, so good for him. Um, for his early work, he would become famous rather rapidly. He was hired as an assistant conductor for the New York PO, and he would work briefly in commercial music industry. He composed his first symphony named Jeremiah. He also wrote a sonata for the clarinet and piano. He would play the piano with a group known as the Riverors, which is a Greenwich Village cabaret act. 18 months after being hired at the Philharmonic, he was already a famous composer and conductor. But what really skyrocketed him was that he was substituted last moment to play on a national broadcast, and after that, other conducting opportunities would just soon follow right afterwards. So his assistant conductorship only lasted a season, around 18 months. As a conductor, before him, there was very few American-born and trained conductors that would reach an internationally known status. But he was one of them, and he became popular in places like Israel as he played concerts near the front lines during the Israeli for Independence. He was also a guest conductor for the Vienna PO. He made a bunch of recordings with them too. Um, he did a lot of conducting, and one of the places that, or a couple of the places that he conducted, I'll say some of the international ones. The London SO, the Bavarian RSO, the Orchestre Nationale de France, the Orchestra de Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia are some of them. And he is also played on TV, national TV, as an educator and commentator. So he had a lifelong interest in music education and would teach the things that he was taught and the things that he did on television broadcast. And he was really good at it. Even if you didn't know much about music, people would say that you would still walk away with learning something. It was made for both children and adults, and some of his TV scripts ended up turning into books. Now, for other works that he did, his big dramatic works, he did 5 Broadway scores, 3 ballets, 2 operas, incidental music for 2 plays, which I'm assuming that it was those 2 that he did in college, and a film score. So his first 2 dramatic works were in 1944. There's a ballet called Fancy Feet and a musical On the Town. During this time, he began to work with a choreographer named Jerome Robbins, and one of the guys, for one of the things that he was doing, he got in a very famous director named George Abbott. I got to learn about him during my Broadway musical history class, and George Abbott actually was one of the directors for a musical that I did go see last semester, Damn Yankees, in the Dinner Theater. Really good. It was really good. I enjoyed that one. And of course, like I had said earlier, he had worked on the music for West Side Story, which is, if you've never heard it, I would recommend giving it a listen to. It's one of the best musical scores I've heard. I really enjoy that one. All of its music's just so good. Do yourself a favor, whether it's going and finding the musical online or even watching the movie. I've only seen the original movie, the 1969 movie, but I'm sure the new one's good too. I'm hoping it is, but do yourself a favor, watch some of the original ones. They're on Spotify too. So for his legacy, he did a lot, as I said. There's still even more things, more people that he worked with, more stuff that he just did. And so, but it wasn't only in music, but he was also very active in politics for his entire music career. Lent many left-wing groups his name in his early career. And so apparently the FBI has a huge file on his name, which I think is interesting. He is also temporarily blacklisted in the McCarthy era, with all the communist stuff going on, but eventually came right back. Good for him. And another thing that I thought was interesting is that he was also a homosexual, but he married an actress named Felicia Khan and had 3 kids with her. So, very famous. His work, his conducting work, has barely diminished since his death. He's still critically, commercially popular, and it is still like remembered as as an important American musical educator, which is really awesome. So for his piece, the one that I listened to was on Spotify called Five Anniversaries, number 5 for Susanna Kyle. And it's a piano piece because that's his forte. And it's short. It's only around 2 minutes long, but I really enjoyed it. It's really nice and sweet, very whimsical and playful. It's a slow tempo but high octave, very tonal, on key. It's not that kind of modernist style like some of the other composers that we listen to with, lots of things going on or off keys, off tonality, things just shifting. It's a very solid piece, which is still really good and still really interesting. And I would need to listen to his other works, his other orchestra works, to really know what he was what his vibe kind of was. But as so far with this one that I'm talking about, it's a very solid piece, monophonic, um, just very relaxing, and it's really good. It has 10 million listens to on Spotify, and it's a nice and pleasant song to listen to, and it's really short. So I would say give it a listen. Very relaxing. Definitely would be on one of those, oh, here's a music that you need to listen to when you're studying or something. So it's really nice, really cool. I liked it. And let's see. I really think this guy is a really interesting guy with all the stuff that he's done in his life. Um, as of so far, like I said, his music doesn't really remind me of any of the people that we've listened to so far. And so it gives it a uniqueness that even though we're entering, like truly entering like this modernistic era where we're getting all experimental, that we still have sort of traditional kind of pieces floating around here and there. Doesn't mean to say that these guys like aren't going to take their own twist and turns in their work, but it's like that we still have traditional sounding music is really interesting to hear, especially with all the changes happening. And yeah, I think this guy is a very interesting person. He really is. And it makes me really jealous that I wish that I could just be doing a bunch of stuff too. And maybe hopefully I will. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about him. So I hope you guys find him interesting too. I hope you guys give his stuff a listen to. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Bye, guys.